Hey Chaotic Crew, Brian here, coming at you from right before New Year's, but this episode is going to be coming out after New Year, so Happy New Year to you. As is tradition, you want to have a resolution in the new year, want to make sure that we're getting rid of the toxicity in our lives, so with that in mind, I'm building this toxic deck. We'll dive into that in a second, but first I want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by Mana Pool. It's a fast-growing marketplace for Magic the Gathering that makes buying and selling cards easy. Their optimizer helps you get the best value in buying cards, and the team is focused on making it a great experience for buyers and sellers alike. If you have some extra cash from the holidays, might not be a bad idea to use it there. I had a great experience when I've used it before, so make sure to check out that affiliate link in the description below. Thanks to Mana Pool for helping the channel out. But yeah, what do I mean by toxic deck? Well, let's look into right here the commander from the upcoming Lorwyn set, High Perfect Morcant. 4 mana for a 4/4 legendary elf noble, and it has whenever High Perfect Morcant or another elf you control enters, each opponent blights 1. It's a new mechanic from the set, and it means that they each put a -1/-1 counter on a creature they control. So every time you have a bunch of any elves entering, that's the case. And then you can tap 3 untapped elves you control to proliferate, activate only as a sorcery. So a lot of different ways you can go with this deck. I think the meanest way you could build this is Infect. I think a lot of people are going that route. I'm trying not to include much Infect. I do have maybe like 1 or 2 cards that could make it so that we could go that route, but something I thought would be interesting here would be go more of a +1/+1 counter strategy. Right, if we can give our own elves +1/+1 counters and proliferate them, then they get really big, and that sort of is a win con that's different than just playing Craterhoof or something that makes it a bit more different than just standard Elfball, right? And High Perfect Morcant does a great job of controlling the opponent's board, right? We're playing a bunch of elves, so that's important to keep in mind there. But yeah, obviously in a great Elfball deck, you want to have Tyvar Kell. That if you're running green and black, you're running Tyvar Kell. Makes other elves be able to tap for mana, and you can give counters to creatures. You can also make tokens, so literally everything this deck wants to do. And then the ultimate helps you draw more cards, which is always nice. So Tyvar really great in here. Running 32 creatures, obviously want to go out quickly, so the mana curve here is fairly low. Arbor Elf, Elvish Mystic, Llanowar Elves, all the 1 mana. We have Findhorn Elves in here too somewhere, and a couple other ones that just are turn 1, get out and get some early mana going, so that way you can make sure that you get your commander out a turn early and start putting these -1/-1 counters on creatures. Circle of Dream Druids is really great to give you, a few mana in the next couple turns. Dionys, Elvish Archdruid, probably one of the best cards in the deck. Elves you control have whenever this creature becomes tapped during your turn, untap it and put a +1/+1 counter on it. This ability triggers only once each turn. So what's great is you can tap this and 2 elves, give them all +1/+1 counters, you tap them all to proliferate, right? But because tapping them as a cost, this will resolve first. They'll get the +1/+1 counters, then you proliferate, they get additional +1/+1 counters, and now they're untapped, by the way. And so then you could use those same elves to untap stuff more. So this just lets you proliferate even more in turn. Really great card here. Eladamri is fun. Another elf that cares about tapping and untapping elves. Really cool. You can get cards for free onto the battlefield, and makes it so you can cast spells from the top of your library, which is always helpful in an elf deck. Elves of Deep Shadow, another 1 mana elf here. Elvish Archdruid, similar to Circle of Dream Druid's going to give us a lot of green mana, but also buffs all of our elves, which is really great. Elvish Warmaster is a fantastic way to create more tokens, right? It's simply doubling the elf enter the battlefield triggers, which includes our commanders, so that's really great to have there, and also later game can buff our elves up a bit and give them Death Touch. Running Glissa Sunslayer as probably one of the better elves here to put a bunch of +1/+1 counters on. Whenever she deals combat damage to a player, you can destroy enchantment, remove 3 counters from a permanent, or draw a card, lose a life. Really great options here, but First Strike, Death Touch, and making this massive is going to help out a lot. We've also got Evolution Sage to proliferate whenever we're landing on the battlefield under our control. Great there. Evolution Witness to, whenever it gets counters, to in return permanents from our graveyard to our hand. It can give itself counters, and then we can proliferate from there. Thin-Horn Elves, we mentioned. Generous Patron, we're supporting too. We can put +1/+1 counter on our own creatures that we want to proliferate, and then when we're blighting our opponents, we're drawing cards, which is really great here. Immaculate Magistrate gives a creature, any creature, right, for each elf you control, a +1/+1 counter. So this could be political. If you want to help an opponent kill someone with commander damage, it could help out there. Or you could just put a bunch of counters on one of your own creatures. So that's really helpful. Imperious Perfect can make 1/1 green elf warriors, which is great. Having those repeatable elf generation cards is so important in this deck, where we want to be giving our opponents -1/-1 counters. It also buffs our other elves. Idling Denizen's great here too, because it is going to be giving our elves counters, which is important, right? We want more ways to give our elves counters. Draga Warcaller will enter with counters, and then we'll buff our other elf creatures for each +1/+1 counter on him, so that's great. Lathril, Blade of the Elves, probably the de facto Elfball commander until High Perfect Morcant gets printed, right? But Lathril will be really great. It's going to give you more elf warriors as it deals combat damage to a player. It can tap elves, so it cares about the tapping, untapping to do a big chunk of life swing, and then it has Menace to help get in. So nice there. Leaf Crown Visionary gives our other elves +1/+1, and whenever we cast an elf, we can pay a green to draw a card. Always great there. We talked about Llanowar Elves. Lys Alana Huntmaster. Whenever you cast an elf spell, you may put a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token onto the battlefield. Really great here too to sort of double those elves. Also, some of our sorceries are tribal. Some of our instants are tribal, and etc. So that will also include those. Marwyn the Nurturer is really great here because it's giving itself +1/+1 counters, and then it's also ramping us out a lot. So great to have early in the game. Massacre Girl is pretty much the only non-elf deck we have, or card in the deck we have. But it's giving all of our elves Wither, so when they, deal damage to opponents' creatures, they deal damage in the form of -1/-1 counters, which are permanent and also more likely to kill them. And then whenever a creature opponent controls dies, if its toughness was less than 1, we draw a card. Since we're blighting our opponents anyways, this is just another good card engine to do more things there. Poison Tip Archer, because our opponents are going to lose a lot of creatures, we might be losing a lot of creatures, we're burning our opponents, essentially, which is great there. Priest of Titania gives us a green for each elf on the battlefield, so not even just our elves, but if an opponent is running elf deck or any kind of changeling shenanigans, then we are also benefiting from that. Realm Walker to help us cast the top card of our library, which is really great. Reclamation Sage, classic. Brishkar gives us more counters on creatures. Skimfar's Shadow Sage is great. Gonna, either have us gain life or have opponent lose life. Either works well depending on the situation. Tremel, Seymour's Butler, a new card from Final Fantasy, going to make all of our non-token creatures enter with an additional counter, and then you can proliferate with him too, and that's always a great combo to have on a card. Well-Wisher gives us life for each elf in play, not just our own, so also good way to continue to keep us alive. People will be attacking us, right? And we'll be tapping our creatures a lot, so that's something to keep in mind as well. Wolverine Riders is fantastic just because it's going to keep on giving us an elf on each upkeep, and it's kind of just what we need in a top-end card here. And you'll notice I don't have any overrun effect or anything. Again, I'm trying to go a bit different than just normal Elfball because we're going to be buffing our elves out a lot. If we can just get them all pretty big, we should be able to swing in for game. So that is that. You could run overrun or something else, but and you probably will in a future deck, right, if you play with friends. But I just wanted to showcase all the other cards that I thought could be really cool. For sorceries, Elvish Promenade is really great. 4 mana to create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token for each elf you control. And this is essentially a board wipe to an extent, right? You are going to get, let's say, 5 elves at least, and so then each opponent is going to be blighting 5 if you have your commander out. So they're having to put 5 minus one counters on a bunch of creatures they have. That's not going to be fun. They're not going to like that. So, and this also buffs your board a lot. It's a really great card here. The rest is, we've got a few ramp pieces: Nature's Lore, 3 Visits, Rampant Growth, Shared Roots. All great to get some of that black mana on the battlefield to make sure we can cast our commander. We also have Reanimate, right, to grant a creature from our battlefield, from our graveyard. And because High Perfect Morcant's going to be a high target, I'm expecting people to kill it, so it's just a quick way to get it back out. Or maybe if someone kills our Wolverine Riders or what have you, if someone board wipes and we just have a big piece we want to get back out, maybe Elvish War Master is a great card to have on the battlefield and we need that back out, then Reanimate's perfect there. And then Sylvan Arthurine is amazing as well because it's another card that can give us a lot of green elf tokens, and those elf tokens are crazy with our commander. And then we get the benefit of helping out an opponent, creating some alliances there. As far as instants, you got a lot of removal, right? Not as much creature removal, more focused on the non-land permanent aspect because obviously our commander deals with creatures pretty well. So Abrupt Decay, Assassin's Trophy, Atomize, Beast Within, all great ways to get rid of non-land permanents in general. Elven Ambush is just an instant speed version of Elvish Promenade, but Elvish Promenade is a tribal sorcery. Elven Ambush is just an instant, so a good thing to keep in mind there. Galadriel Ambush is also interesting. Going to make X 1/1 green elves, where X is the number of attacking creatures, so it also prevents combat damage that would be dealt this turn by non-elf creatures, and it makes them the opponent creatures weaker as they enter, and you can blight your opponents and probably kill a lot of their creatures, so that's something, that's a really good card to swing. We also have Benefactor's Draught. You untap all creatures until end of turn. Whenever a creature an opponent controls blocks, we draw a card, and then it also draws a card for casting it. Right, we can tap all our creatures with our commander, and then proliferate a bunch, and then we can Benefactor's Draught, untap all of our creatures, and then continue to tap our elves again with our commander to proliferate. So that can really help win us the game there. We are running Collective Resistance. It destroys an artifact or an enchantment, but it can also give our commander hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, which is always nice. Heroic Intervention protects our whole board with hexproof and indestructible, and Golgari Charm can regenerate each creature we control, destroy an enchantment, or give all creatures -1/-1. Probably using this for the regenerate part, just as an anti-board wipe, safe measure. Tamio Safekeeping also protects our commander and gains us 2 life, which is nice. Malika Rebirth similarly will protect our commander and will actually have it re-enter the battlefield. So that will be great, and you'll re-get to blight a creature for each opponent, so that's great. Revitalizing Repast will give a +++ counter on a creature and give it indestructible. And it's also, these are both black mana sources, which is really important to have there. I forgot I have no Wi-Fi, so forget that. And then Vraska's Fall. This is the card here, each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker, so they're probably going to sacrifice one with the most amount of -1/-1 counters on it anyways, but it gives us a poison counter on each opponent. So this is kind of the way to sort of start that, and it's a slow climb from there, but it's really helpful. As far as artifacts, we got a few of them here. Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots to protect our commander, which is pretty awesome. And then Ozolith is great because it's going to give us an additional +1/+1 counter. When we put them on there, can put +1/+1 counters on our creatures. Earth Crystal, similarly, is going to be great. It will make our spells cost less to cast, which at the point we're casting this probably doesn't matter a whole lot, but it's giving twice counters on creatures we control, and then it can also dish out some counters as well. Black Market Connections for enchantments. It's great because we can draw cards. We're probably not going to need to create treasures, but we can if we want to. But what's really great is we are making those 3/2 shapeshifters. Those are also elves, so every time we do that, we're blighting one. So really great card in this deck. Blowfly Infestation to essentially keep re-putting +1/-1 counters on our opponent's cards. Really, really strong in here. Crumbling Ashes, not as strong. It just destroys a creature at the beginning of your upkeep with a -1/-1 counter on it. I thought about taking this card out, but it's still good. I don't know. If another card that's better comes out, we may do that instead. Herald of Night's Elves is great here because it can essentially reanimate an elf from our graveyard. Then it gives a +1/+1 counter on each elf we control, and then we will essentially wipe our opponent's boards if we have any amount of elves in our battlefield. So really good there. Prowess of the Fair is fantastic. Another tribal card, right? That's important for us. And whenever it's put into the graveyard from the battlefield, or whenever, a non-token elf is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, you may create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. So when our creatures are dying, we're making elf warrior tokens, making blight triggers go off, so really strong. Tale of Cthulhu and Toph. The first time each of our creatures get tapped, they get a +1/+1 counter on it. So again, they tap for the Proliferate trigger on High Perfect Morcant. Because it's a cost, this ability will resolve first. They'll get +1/+1 counters, and then they will proliferate, getting additional +1/+1 counters. So really good here. And then Tribute to the World Chi to sort of round off that +1/+1 counter synergy and make it so that whenever a creature enters the battlefield, we're getting 2 +1/+1 counters on it. So really strong there. As far as lands are concerned, nothing crazy here. We are running Plaza of Heroes as another way to protect our commander. Cavern of Souls to make our creatures uncounterable. 3-Tree City gives us a ton of mana as well. Wirewood Lodge can untap elves, which is important, but not too much else crazy there. As far as this here, I don't hate this hand. We have 2 mana, not ideal, but we do have a way to ramp. So let's go ahead and draw for turn. We do get Reanimate, which is nice. We'll play Overgrown Tomb, tap, pass to turn 2. Play the Llanowar Waste and our Priest of Titania. Now if we draw a land, we can play our commander next turn, and we're off to the races. Next turn we didn't get it, but instead we can Generous Patron, put counters on creatures, and draw 2 cards. Still not getting a land. Like, we do run 36, which is good for an Elfball deck. Just really getting unlucky here. We do finally get the land on this turn 4, so we could cast our commander and still have 1 mana left over for maybe Tamiyo's Safekeeping to protect our commander, and then next turn we kind of go from there. So not bad. Let's try again. No lands there. This is going to be a no for me. Okay, we have 5 lands here, so not great. And nothing really going on right now, but we can potentially go ahead and get some setup pieces out there. So let's draw for turn. We do get Evolution Witness, which isn't bad. Play Overgrown Tomb tapped again next turn. Another land is not ideal, but that's okay. We're going to play Prowess of the Fair, so whenever any non-token elf, which includes itself, right? It is a non-token elf, being a tribal enchantment, will make us tokens. So next turn, turn 3. Ooh, okay, I like scrying, but playing this means we can't play anything else this turn. And I think we have to play the Blowfly Infestation, because if we can get rid of a 1/1 or an X1 when our commander enters, then getting another -1/-1 counter on it that's nice, right? So another slow game for us. We do draw Cavern of Souls, which protects our commander. We'll cast our commander, put a -1/-1 counter on something, and then pass the turn. And then turn 5, we keep drawing these lands, so really not in a great spot this turn. Not getting any of our card draw or anything. All right, we're going to keep this hand, and we're going to go to town. Path of Ancestry tapped. Turn 2. We will play this Swamp, and we will Shared Roots to get a Forest. Turn 3. Okay, we can play this. We lose 2 life, and we can cast our commander, which I think is ideal. And we scry off that. We'll keep Swamp on top. Drawing the land helps us out here. Next turn, play the Swamp, and we could Marwyn into Nature's Lore. We could Nature's Lore into Ivy Lane Denizen, which I don't hate. We could play Tale of Cthulhu and Toph. We could just Nature's Lore and hold up Beast Within if we want. We got a couple of options here. Not amazing. Again, no card draw. Maybe a good idea is to add some more card draw. We have a couple solid engines in here, but could be more. Next turn, we do get a Forest and whatnot. All right, last game. Let's try this one out. Draw Command Tower. next turn. Vraska's Fall is not bad, but not doing a whole lot. Abrupt Decay is nice, right? We can get rid of someone's cheap commander if they're playing a really good commander. Kind of makes us a target for them, though. Okay, draw Llanowar Elves, which is nice. Go ahead and play it. And turn 4, we draw Generous Patron, which is always great to have. So play the commander, right? We have 1 mana open, but it doesn't really do a whole lot for us. In fact, Evolution Sage and Generous Patron are actually really great here. If you can proliferate a bunch, well, that's... yeah, this will draw so many cards. So we're actually in a really great spot right now. Even if our commander dies, we can Generous Patron, draw cards. We just need 1 land to recast our commander, and then we're off to the races. So I think we're in a really great spot here. Vraska's Fall, also really good to start the poison counter. We may want to hold off on that, though, until, you know, Evolution Stage is gone to not put a target our way. But either way, this is a really fun deck. Pretty interesting way to build Elfball, and I think this is going to be a really popular commander from the new set here. But yeah, if you enjoyed the deck tech, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content, and make sure to become a channel member so you don't miss out on any of the giveaways and get you an extra entry when we have the giveaways for these upcoming Lorwyn commander decks, as well as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle commander deck coming up as well. And otherwise, don't forget to check out the Mana Pool affiliate link in our description below, and have a great rest of your week. Bye. Happy New Year!